Welcome to the Insights for GS, an initiative towards excellence. Today, we will read another part of the polity. We all know that the genesis of Indian Constitution lies in the British rule. So in order to understand Constitution of India, we need to understand the constitutional development. Our forefathers were criticized that our constitution has been a borrowed bag, but he rightly answered them that we have ransacked the best part from the different constitutions of the world. So we should have clear about idea about constitutional development. So our constitutional development took place from 1773 to the Government of Act 1947. Before understanding constitutional development, we should have idea about the structure of East India Company. Our East India Company, it was not our East India Company consisted of monarch in England. Then below that was court of directors, which used to be 24 in number, and below that was court of proprietors. So it was the structure of company. These court of proprietors were shareholders. Every company has shareholders. They used to elect those court of directors. So via election, these shareholders used to elect these court of directors. This was the structure of East India Company. Well, the company was working effectively in India. The British government thought that they will bring some sort of regulations to the company, because there was rampant corruption, lack of accountability. So they thought they will bring some sort of regulation to the affairs of the company, and the first act came in the form of Government of Act 1773. So all we know about the structure, it was like this. There used to be monarch, which we read in the previous video, and then court of directors, court of proprietors. This system used to prevail in England. And India, there used to be Governor General and Governor General's Council. This was like a mini parliament. The presidencies of Bombay and Madras were made subordinate to the Governor General at Fort William in all affairs like diplomacy, war, and revenue affairs. Let's read key provisions of this act. It led to the central administration in India. This act, led to the central administration in India. The company was required to pay 4 lakh to the British government. That is, East India Company was required to pay 4 lakh to the British government. It was a kind of financial control. This act created Office of Governor General at Fort William. Fort William was at Bengal, and the first Governor General was Warren Hastings. Warren Hastings. Another important provision was it created Supreme Court. This Supreme Court had 4 judges, and this Supreme Court was like our Supreme Court, which was also court of records. This Supreme Court maintained fair space from the religious affairs and other cultural aspects. The other important provision was that it granted constitutional status to the company. Constitutional status to the company. The other provision was that it created Governor General's Council. Governor General's Council. As I already told you that it was like a mini parliament with 4 members. They were Barwell, Monson, Philip Francis, Barwell, Monson, Philip Francis, and Clavering. These were the key provisions of this Government of Act 1773. Let's read now the defects of this Government of Act 1773. The first defect was that the Governor General was rendered powerless. That is, he was not given veto power. He had to seek permission from other presidencies. The jurisdiction of Supreme Court was ambiguous. That is, its relationship with the Governor General's Council was ambiguous. It was not well defined. And the last one was that the plight of the people was not addressed. So this was all about the Government of Act 1773.